When you are alone at home, everything is exactly where it should be. The silence is exactly the way you want it. The light is at the angle you chose. The objects are arranged in the order you created. This is not control. It gives a sense of safety. But when someone knocks on your door, that safety suddenly turns into a threat, because the guest is not just an ordinary person. They are the possibility of disruption to the balance of your inner world. They represent a potential invasion of the emotional space you have carefully constructed. And you call this being antisocial, or you say, I just like being alone. But behind this lies a darker truth, something you cannot control. The presence of another person frightens you. This creates a paradox. While you turn your home into a shelter, you are actually turning it into a prison. The very thing meant to protect you is now starting to harm you, because the human brain does not develop when it feels safe, but when it is recognized and seen by others, and you are afraid of being seen. In psychology, this is called escape through the illusion of control. By controlling your environment, you reduce social risk, but this method leaves you emotionally starved, because real connections are formed only in moments of vulnerability, and hosting a guest is precisely a symbol of that vulnerability. Today, we will talk about how your shelter has turned into a prison, and we will examine how your inability to open your door actually reflects a closed door inside your inner world. First, we must define what shelter psychology means. It is the regulation of emotions by controlling the environment. In other words, you use external order to manage internal chaos. Because your home is the place you can control the most, you turn it into a psychological shelter. Safe, sterile, and predictable. In neuroscience, a brain under constant stress switches into energy-saving mode. This is called parasympathetic withdrawal. The amygdala remains in constant threat detection, while the prefrontal cortex becomes overloaded and loses its ability to interpret social signals. The result? A new person becomes an additional energy cost for your brain. That discomfort you feel before a guest arrived is actually your brain saying, I can't handle this. The brain hates uncertainty. It works like a prediction machine. At home, every sound, every shadow, every detail is already within the prediction system. But when a guest arrives, that system begins to collapse. You don't know when they will leave. You can't predict which topics they will bring up. You don't know where they will sit or what they will touch. This uncertainty creates an error signal in the brain, and the brain interprets that error as a threat. That is why you feel so exhausted after the guest leaves, because your brain has been operating for hours under high uncertainty. In psychoanalytic theory, there is a concept called ego boundaries. This refers to the perception of where the self ends and where the external world begins. Healthy ego boundaries are flexible and permeable. You can be influenced by others without feeling attacked. But for people who have experienced trauma or are highly sensitive, these boundaries become excessively rigid. Every external stimulus feels like an invasion. The guest becomes a psychological threat, even if they do nothing harmful physically. That is why some people cannot even tolerate someone breathing in their home, because that breath feels like a contamination of their own existence. Heidegger, in his concept of Dasein, being there, states this: a person truly knows themselves only through interaction with others, because in isolation, you are only speaking with your own echoes. Refusing to accept guests is not just a social preference, it is an existential form of escape. By avoiding being seen by others, you are also avoiding knowing yourself, because others are your mirror. When they arrive, the parts of you that you usually ignore begin to surface. The mess in your home, the lack of enthusiasm in your voice, the obligation to perform. These are the sides of yourself that you hide, and you do not want to see them. According to Carl Jung, the shadow, the repressed aspects of the personality, only becomes visible through interaction with the external world. The discomfort you feel when guests arrive is actually your shadow coming into the light. Maybe you struggle with perfectionism and feel your home is not good enough. Maybe you carry a deep sense of inadequacy, and the guest becomes the physical embodiment of that feeling. or maybe as a child. Your home was constantly judged, and now every guest triggers that same judging gaze. That is why refusing guests is actually a way of avoiding confrontation with yourself. Nietzsche described the last man as a person who seeks only comfort and avoids all risk. The last man who says, "We have invented happiness," is actually someone who has chosen emotional death. Shelter psychology is exactly this: feeling safe, living predictably, but being spiritually stagnant. Refusing guests means rejecting the complex, uncertain, but meaningful side of life. You live in safety, but slowly shrink. If you struggle to share your physical space, emotional intimacy becomes nearly impossible. Partners often say, "It feels like there is always a wall between us," because letting someone inside, truly inside, frightens you. You prefer remote work. You keep your camera off in meetings. You avoid social events and call it productivity. But the truth is this: teamwork creates situations you cannot control, and you are trying to escape those situations. As a result, career opportunities do not approach you because people do not truly know you. Your friendships remain superficial because deep relationships require mutual visibility, but you avoid being seen. You are always busy. There is always an excuse. Over time, people stop reaching out because you have built an invisible wall. Interestingly, you struggle to set boundaries. Setting boundaries assumes recognition and communication, but instead of setting limits, you completely withdraw. The result? You accumulate emotional pressure. Small violations silently build inside you, and one day you explode, and others are shocked. But I didn't know any of this. The most tragic part is this: you don't even know yourself. Identity does not form in isolation. It forms in relationships. You call yourself introverted or minimalist, but in reality, you are internally lost. Even the face in the mirror feels unfamiliar. Because you have never seen it reflected through others. Over time, every invitation feels like a threat. Dinner? No. Weekend trip? No. Even a video call feels too much. Your life shrinks. You become trapped between four walls. You call it peace, but at night, that silence disturbs your soul. Because the difference between peace and loneliness is the ability to choose. You can no longer choose because you no longer have the strength. The first step is to recognize your inner child. Maybe guests used to disturb you. Maybe you were told your home was not good enough. Maybe your privacy was constantly violated. Reassure that child with your adult self. You are safe now. You do not need anyone's approval. In therapy, anxiety disorders are treated with gradual exposure. You confront what you fear in small, safe doses. Instead of inviting someone for dinner, invite them for a 30-minute coffee, then 1 hour, then a meal. Your brain learns. This is not a life-threatening danger. Observe your emotions when guests arrive. Is it shame? Inadequacy? Anger? These emotions are reflections of internal fears. Do not judge them. Write them down. Today a guest came, and I felt. This brings unconscious patterns into awareness. Before the guest arrives, calm your body. Breathe deeply. Scan your body. The brain starts threat detection through bodily signals. Activate the parasympathetic system consciously. 10 minutes before arrival. This reduces amygdala overreaction. Replace guest threat with guest mirror. They are an opportunity for deeper self-knowledge. This does not mean comfort. It means meaning. And most importantly, the goal is not to be normal, but to be integrated. To accept yourself as someone who needs both solitude and connection. You may never be someone who hosts guests 3 times a week. That is completely fine. But at least you will regain the power to choose. Your shelter protects you, but it also limits you. Because being human is not just about being present. It is also about opening the door. And maybe one day, when someone knocks, the first feeling will not be fear, but curiosity. Because that guest may carry a key to your inner journey. And perhaps the most important truth is this: the shelter will never disappear completely. You will still need space, silence, a controlled environment. That is not weakness. That is your nature. What changes is this: you will no longer be imprisoned. You will be choosing. Your home will stop being a place to escape and become a place you want to return to. Guests will no longer feel like threats, but options. Because real safety is not found behind thick walls. Real safety is being yourself in the presence of others. And maybe one day, when the doorbell rings, your first question will not be, "How long will they stay?" but, "What are you bringing?" Because every person adds something to your inner world. Sometimes chaos, sometimes meaning, sometimes reflection, but always something. And you will no longer be afraid of that something. Opening the door does not mean letting the world in. It means letting yourself out. If this video reflects something inside you, don't forget to like it. And if you feel ready to face your own shelter, share in the comments. Because sometimes, simply saying it out loud is the first step. See you in the next video. And who knows, maybe by then, you will have opened your door just a little more.